I knew crossing into the Eclipse Pack's territory was a suicide mission. But my pack was starving, and their central docks held the only supply routes left in the city. I thought I could slip in and out like a ghost. I was wrong. The moment the scent of winter ozone and pure dominance hit the air, I knew I was dead. Ren, spoken, panting, gripping his blade tighter, back off. I'm not going down without taking a piece of you with me. Valen, calm, deeply resonant, echoing voice, you're a long way from home, little stray. Trespassing on my borders carries a death sentence. Did your alpha really think sending a scrawny thief would change anything? That was Valen, the legendary, ruthless alpha of the Eclipse Pack. A monster disguised in a tailored overcoat, whose very presence made the shadows in the alleyway seem to twist and obey him. I didn't answer. I lunged. I put every ounce of my speed into a desperate strike. But he didn't even flinch. In a blur of motion too fast for human eyes to follow, his hand clamped down on my wrist like a steel vice. Ren, gasping, trying to pull away, let go of me. I braced myself for the strike that would end my life. But it never came. Instead, the moment his bare skin made contact with my wrist, a literal jolt of electricity surged straight up my arm and slammed into my chest. My lungs completely locked up. Inside my soul, something ancient and terrifying suddenly woke up. Valen, voice dropping to a low, breathless growl, eyes widening in shock. What is this? I looked up, and my heart stopped. His cold, calculating amber eyes were suddenly burning like twin suns. Deep within my own reflection, a brilliant golden light was flaring. The fated bond. The universe's cruelest joke. Out of all the wolves in the world, my true mate was the ruthless alpha trying to exterminate my kind. Valen, pulling Ren aggressively closer, his grip tightening on his collar, voice laced with sudden possession, you're from the rival pack. A nameless trespasser. So why? Why is my wolf screaming that you belong to me? Ren, teeth gritted, glare fierce despite his trembling body, I don't belong to anyone. Especially not a monster like you. Kill me, or let me go, Valen. Valen, a slow, dangerous, dark smile spreading across his lips as he looks down at him. Kill you? No, little stray. The rules just changed. You're coming with me. He didn't lock me in a dungeon. He didn't throw me to his pack guards. Instead, Valen dragged me straight into the heart of his territory, a sprawling, high-tech fortress hidden deep within the mountain forests. I fought him every single step of the way, trying to break his grip, but it was like trying to fight a mountain. Ren, spoken, struggling, voice raw, let go. You can't just kidnap a rival pack member. My alpha will declare total war over this. Valen, not looking back, his voice smooth and unbothered, your alpha sent you across my borders to steal. He practically handed you to me. And right now, your pack is the least of your concerns, little stray. He dragged me through grand hallways lined with dark wood and glass, entirely ignoring the shocked stares of his elite pack guards. To them, I was a dirty, lower-class trespasser. But to Valen's wolf, I was something else entirely. He threw open the doors to a massive master bedroom and practically tossed me inside. The scent of him was everywhere here, heavy, intoxicating, and completely overwhelming my senses. The fated bond was screaming at me to submit, to step closer, but my pride refused to break. Ren, snapping, eyes wild with defiance, what is this? Your private execution room? Just get it over with, Valen. Valen, calmly unbuttoning his overcoat, tossing it onto a chair. If I wanted you dead, you'd still be rotting in that alleyway. You're staying here, in this room, where I can keep an eye on you. Ren, laughing bitterly, arms crossed tight, you think you can just lock me in your bed and expect me to play the loyal mate? I'd rather claw my own throat out than submit to an Eclipse alpha. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't growl. He just walked over slowly, his massive frame completely blocking out the rest of the room. He leaned in, placing his hand flat against the glass right next to my ear. He was so close I could feel the heat radiating off his body, making my blood run dangerously hot. Valen, low, dangerous whisper, his amber eyes burning into Ren's, you can fight the bond all you want, Ren. You can bite, you can scratch, and you can curse my name. But we both know the truth. Your wolf is already answering to mine. Ren, gulping involuntarily, trying to keep his voice steady, I am not yours. Valen, leaning down, his breath brushing against Ren's ear, will see how long that stubborn pride lasts. Food will be brought to you. Don't try to escape. The silver-laced security grid will tear you apart before you hit the trailing. Sleep well, my little rival. He turned and walked out, the lock clicking heavily into place. I slid down the glass window onto the floor, my knees completely weak, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my chest. I was trapped in the enemy's den, and the worst part was, a terrifying piece of me didn't want to leave. I thought my anger would keep me strong. I thought my hatred for the Eclipse Pack would carry me through the night. But I forgot about the fever. When a fated bond is rejected, the body pays the price. By midnight, my blood felt like liquid fire. Every breath burned my lungs, and my inner wolf was clawing at my ribs, begging, screaming, for the only person who could stop the pain. Ren, groaning, gripping the sheets, sweating. Damn it, stop it. I won't give in. I won't. The scent of winter ozone in the room was driving me insane. It was a cruel torture. The closer I got to the pillows where he slept, the more the fever burned. I was trapped in a cage of my own biology. Then, the lock clicked. Through the haze of my blurred vision, I saw him. Valen. He stood in the doorway, his tie gone, his black shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He didn't look angry. He looked consumed. An alpha can feel his mate's pain from miles away. He had felt me burning all night. Valen, voice low, rumbling, heavy with instinct. You're burning alive. Run. Your stubbornness is going to kill you. Run. Panting, glaring weakly through the dark. Stay back. Don't touch me. Valen, walking slowly toward the bed, his amber eyes glowing in the dark. You are a terrible liar. Your mouth tells me to leave, but your soul is begging me to step closer. Before I could pull away, he sat on the edge of the mattress. The bed dipped under his weight, and then his hand touched my skin. It felt like an absolute wave of ice crashing over a wildfire. The moment his fingers brushed my forehead, the agonizing pain vanished instantly. A heavy gasp escaped my lips against my will. Valen, gently running his thumb across Ren's flushed cheek, his voice surprisingly soft. See? The bond doesn't care about our packs, little stray. It only knows that you belong here, in my arms. Ren, looking up at him, his gaze hazy but defiant, a heavy blush on his face. This changes nothing. Tomorrow, I'm still your enemy. Valen, leaning down slightly, a dark, possessive smirk playing on his lips. Then rest up, my beautiful enemy. Because tomorrow, I'm going to show you exactly how futile it is to run from me. When the morning sun hit my face, the fever was completely gone. But the heavy, comforting scent of winter ozone still lingered on the pillows, a stark reminder of what happened last night. I had let my guard down. I had let the enemy touch me. I cursed under my breath, throwing the sheets aside, ready to find a way out, until the door opened. Valen, calm, authoritative, wearing a flawless dark suit. Good morning. You look much better than you did at 3 a.m. Run, snapping, sliding out of bed defensively. Save the small talk, Valen. The sun is up. Your security grid is the only thing keeping me here. Are you going to keep me a prisoner forever, or are we going to finish what we started in that alleyway? Valen, walking to the foot of the bed, placing a silver tablet on the mattress. Neither. Your alpha has spent the entire night calling my operatives. He knows I have you, and he's terrified. I stepped closer, my eyes darting to the screen. It displayed our pack's borderlines, and they were completely surrounded by Eclipse forces. My heart hammered against my ribs. My pack was already weak, already starving. If Valen pressed his advantage, they would be wiped out before sunset. Ren, voice shaking with rage. You bastard. You're using me to blackmail my family? Valen, leaning forward, his amber eyes locking onto Ren's with absolute certainty. I'm a businessman, Ron. And an alpha. I protect what is mine. The moment the bond snapped into place, your pack lost their leverage. I am giving your alpha an ultimatum. Ren, gleaming with defiance, his inner wolf flaring. They won't surrender to you. We would rather fight to the last wolf than bow to the Eclipse Pack. Valen, low, commanding. They don't have to bow to me. They just have to sign over the central docks, and in exchange, I will formally provide them with food, medicine, and protection. But there is a catch. Ren, teeth gritted, staring straight into his eyes. What catch? Valen, a slow, possessive smile breaking across his face. You. The deal only stands if you remain here, legally, publicly, and permanently, as my mate. If you walk out that door, my forces cross the border, and your pack ceases to exist. The room fell dead silent. He wasn't giving me a choice. He was offering a golden cage to save the people I loved, using the fated bond as the ultimate lock. I looked at the maps, then up at his ruthless, beautiful face. My inner wolf roared in protest, but deep down, a terrifying truth echoed in my chest. I was already trapped. The walk from the bedroom to the council hall felt like a march to the gallows. Valen hadn't forced me into chains, but the heavy weight of his presence beside me felt just as binding. As the doors opened, the murmurs of dozens of elite Eclipse officials died down instantly. Every eye in the room locked onto us, or more specifically, onto the faint, undeniable golden aura of the fated bond humming between us. Valen, calm, echoing voice, addressing the room, "Thank you for waiting. As you can see, the rumors from the border last night are true. The trespasser has been detained and properly claimed." I kept my chin up, refusing to look like a victim. I could feel the hostile glares from his advisors, who hated the idea of a lower-class rival wolf standing next to their alpha. But one glare cut deeper than all the rest. Sitting at the far end of the table was Alpha Kale, the leader of my birth pack. He looked older, tired, and completely defeated. Seeing him here made reality crash down on me. I wasn't just a stray anymore. I was a political pawn. Alpha Kale, voice gravelly, slamming his hands on the table, "Ren, what is the meaning of this? You were sent to secure our lifelines, not to sell your soul to the Eclipse tyrant." Valen, stepping forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous, low rumble that vibrates through the room. "Mind your tongue, Kale. You are speaking to my mate. The treaty on the table guarantees your pack's survival and opens the central docks, but it requires a signature." Ren, looking directly at Kale, voice steady despite the pain. "He's right, Kale. The fight is over. If you sign, our people eat. If you don't, there won't be a pack left to defend." Kale's jaw clenched, but looking at the maps and the terms, he knew he had no choice. With a trembling hand, the old alpha pressed his biometric seal into the digital document. The screen flashed bright green. "Approved." Valen, looking down at Ren, a deep, satisfied hum vibrating in his chest. "A wise decision. The treaty is sealed." Valen's hand tightened on my shoulder, a clear sign to the entire room that I was officially off limits. I had saved my pack, but as I looked up into Valen's victorious amber eyes, I realized my own personal war was just beginning. I was locked in the alpha's cage now, and the worst part was, my wolf was finally starting to feel at home. Signing the treaty was the easy part. Living through the aftermath was a completely different nightmare. By evening, Valen had forced me out of my torn leather jacket and into a tailored black suit that felt like a straitjacket. I was sitting at his right hand in the grand dining hall, a place reserved only for the alpha's inner circle. And across from me sat the first major threat to my survival. Vance, voice dripping with venom, ice blue eyes locking onto Ren. "I still cannot believe you allowed this filth into our sacred halls, Valen. A street rat from a broken, failing pack? He doesn't even know which fork to use, let alone how to bear the mark of the Eclipse." That was Vance, the daughter of our head commander, and the woman everyone expected Valen to choose as his Luna before the fated bond ruined her plans. She wasn't just angry, she wanted blood. Ren, spoken, setting his glass down with a soft click, a smirk pulling at his lips. "If the sacred halls of the Eclipse pack are so easily polluted by my presence, Vance, then maybe your pack isn't as strong as you claim. And for the record, I prefer eating with my hands. It makes tearing things apart much easier." Vance, slamming her hands on the table, standing up furiously. "You arrogant little stray. You think a random biological freak accident makes you royalty? You are a political hostage. The moment Valen tires of your scent, I will personally throw you to the border hounds." Ren, my inner wolf growled, ready to leap across the table and tear the throat out of anyone who threatened us. The room went deathly silent. Every advisor at the table held their breath, waiting to see how the alpha would react to the open defiance. Before I could launch myself forward, a heavy, warm weight clamped down over my knuckles. Valen reached out. The moment his skin met mine, the golden light of the fated bond flared fiercely, illuminating the dark obsidian table. The sheer pressure of his alpha aura flooded the room, making the air freeze. Valen, voice dangerously low, a dark rumble that makes Vance visibly flinch. "That is enough, Vance." Another word of disrespect toward my mate. and your father will be looking for a new commander. Ren is not a hostage. He is the future of this pack. Ren, looking at Valen in shock, his heart skipping a beat. Valen, turning his amber eyes to Ren, his thumb gently caressing his knuckles in a rare, public show of affection. Eat your dinner, little stray. No one in this house will ever threaten you again, least of all to your face. Vance sank back into her seat, her face pale with rage, but she didn't dare speak again. I looked down at Valen's hand still holding mine, feeling the intoxicating warmth of his protection. He was a monster, a tyrant, and the man who held my life in his hands. But in a room full of vipers, he was the only one keeping me alive. I thought he was just bringing me to the gym to keep me busy. I was wrong. The Eclipse Pack's training facility wasn't a gym. It was a combat arena designed for wolves who could crush steel with their bare hands. Valen stood in the center, his posture relaxed, but his amber eyes tracked my every movement like a predator watching a rabbit, or so he thought. Valen, voice echoing in the large hall, you hold yourself like a street fighter. You rely on speed and desperation. But if you're going to be my mate, you need to learn how to fight like an alpha. Run, scoffing, moving into a fighting stance. I've been fighting since I could walk, Valen. I don't need lessons from you. Valen, a challenging smirk appearing. Then show me. Try to land a single hit. I launched myself at him. I used every trick my old pack taught me. Feints, sweeps, strikes to the throat. But he was a mountain. He didn't even sweat. Every time I got close, his hand would catch mine, his skin radiating that familiar, maddening heat. Ren, gritting his teeth, panting. You're holding back? Why? Valen, dodging a kick, his voice calm. Because if I fought you with my full strength, I'd break you. That arrogance snapped something inside me. It wasn't just my temper anymore. It was the wolf. A deep, dormant part of my bloodline. The part one had hidden my whole life, suddenly surged upward. I didn't think. I just pushed. Valen, staring at his own hands. Then at Run, voice hushed. That energy. That wasn't just your wolf. That was a high-tier bloodline signature. Ren, collapsing against a pillar, chest heaving, his eyes fading back to their normal hazel color. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a stray. Valen, walking toward him, his expression no longer mocking, but intensely curious. You're no stray, Run. Strays don't possess a dormant power that can push back an alpha. You've been hiding who you are, maybe even from yourself. Ren, looking up at him, breathless. Does it matter? I'm still your prisoner. Valen, placing a hand on the pillar right next to Ren's head, blocking him in, his voice low and vibrating with new intensity. A prisoner? No, you're a weapon, and I'm going to make sure you realize exactly how powerful you truly are. Valen's words from the training arena haunted me all night. A high-tier bloodline. It didn't make sense. I was born to a pair of nameless Omegas who died before I could even shift. So, while the rest of the mansion slept, I used the biometric bypass code Valen had carelessly left on his desk to slip into the pack's central database. I needed answers. Ren, whispering, typing rapidly on the glass terminal. Come on. Open up. The system word, processing the request. When the files finally unlocked, my breath hitched. There, linked directly to my biological parents' names, was a redacted crest. The Crimson Fong Pack, an ancient, legendary bloodline thought to have been completely wiped out 2 decades ago. I wasn't a lower-class stray. I was the last living heir of the Eclipse Pack's greatest historic rival. A sudden chill ran down my spine, overriding the shock of the files. The air in the archive turned bitterly cold, heavy with the scent of old iron and gunpowder. I didn't even have time to spin around before the unmistakable click of a weapon safety echoed through the silence. Commander Gerald, voice cold, sharp, and ruthless. You shouldn't have dug so deep, little stray. Some ghosts are meant to stay buried. Run, slowly raising his hands, eyes narrowing as he glances over his shoulder. Commander Gerald. I figured Vance got her bad attitude from someone. Did you come here to finish what your pack started 20 years ago? Commander Gerald, sneering, tightening his grip on the silver firearm. Your bloodline is a disease. Run. If Valen finds out who you really are, his wolf will never let you go. For the sake of the Eclipse Pack's future, you die tonight. I braced myself to dodge, my inner wolf screaming to unleash that dormant golden energy. But before Gerald could pull the trigger, the reinforced steel doors of the archive were literally torn off their hinges with a deafening crash. Valen, a thunderous, terrifying roar that shakes the entire foundation of the room. Gerald, lower the weapon before I render your bloodline extinct. I had never seen Valen like this. The calm, calculated businessman was entirely gone. In his place stood a true apex predator. His amber eyes weren't just glowing. They were practically bleeding pure, suffocating alpha pressure that dropped Commander Gerald instantly to his knees, the weapon slipping from his trembling fingers. Valen, walking slowly past the kneeling commander, his eyes fixed entirely on Ren, his voice trembling with a mixture of possessiveness and relief. Are you hurt? Tell me he didn't touch you. Ren, staring at the terminal screen, then up at Valen, his voice barely a whisper. You already knew, didn't you? You knew exactly who I was before you brought me here. The silence that followed the chaos was deafening. My heart was a frantic drum in my chest, my eyes darting between the terminal screen displaying my extinct bloodline and the powerful alpha standing in front of me. The anger that had sustained me for days suddenly turned into a cold, heavy weight. Ren, voice trembling, knuckles white. You knew. You knew my parents were the heirs to the Crimson Fawn. You knew who I was the second you saw me in that alleyway. This whole thing, the kidnapping, the treaty, it was all a game to you, wasn't it? Valen, exhaling slowly. Looking down, I knew who you were, Ren. But it wasn't a game. If I wanted to destroy you or use you as a pawn, I could have done it years ago. Ren, laughing bitterly, stepping back. Years ago? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Instead of answering, Valen stepped forward. His large hand brushed past my shoulder, his scent of winter ozone washing over me as he swiped the terminal. The screen flickered, closing the bloodline archives and opening a private, encrypted vault. My breath hitched. There, on the screen, was a faded photograph of me as a child, living in the slums. Ren, whispering, staring at the screen. What? What is this? Valen, voice low, deeply resonant. 20 years ago, my father's advisors, including Gerald, wiped out your pack in a brutal coup. I was just a boy, but I swore I would never let that happen again. When I took over as Alpha, I found out one child had survived. You. I couldn't look away from the data. Years of secret financial transfers, anonymous supply drops to my starving pack, security operatives placed on our borders to keep us safe. They all came from a single private account. Valen's account. Valen, looking down at him, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't orchestrate that standoff in the alleyway, Ron. That was chance. But when the fated bond snapped between us, I realized I couldn't keep protecting you from the shadows anymore. Gerald's faction was already closing in on your location. Ren, voice barely audible, looking up at him. So you dragged me here to put me in a cage? Valen, gently shaking his head, his grip on Ren's shoulders tightening affectionately. I brought you here to put you on a throne. Inside this mansion, my laws protect you. But Gerald knew your bloodline would challenge his power. I hid the truth from you because I wanted to unlock your power safely before they realized who you were. I stared into his amber eyes, searching for a lie, but found only absolute, fierce devotion. The monster who had locked me away wasn't my executioner. He was the only person who had been keeping me alive since the day I was born. We didn't even have time to process the truth. Before I could say a single word to Valen, the entire subterranean archive shuddered. The power cut out, and a second later, the crimson emergency lights flared to life. The high-pitched shriek of the mansion's security sirens echoed through the walls. Valen, snapping into immediate tactical focus, pulling a firearm from his shoulder, holstered Gerald's loyalists. He didn't just try to eliminate you. He prepared a full coup. Ren, feeling a sudden, violent surge of energy in his veins, his fists tightening. Good. I was getting tired of hiding in this basement anyway. Valen, glancing at Ron, a dark, proud smile cutting through his grim expression. Hold on to that anger, Ren. The security grid is down, which means they are coming straight for the central hall to take my head. If you're going to stand by my side, this is where the street rules end and the war begins. We fought our way up to the Grand Council Hall, but the moment we breached the doors, we walked straight into an ambush. A dozen elite pack guards, men who had sworn loyalty to Valen's father, had their weapons raised, forming a lethal firing circle. And standing at the center, looking completely unhinged, was Vance. Vance, screaming over the sirens, her voice cracked with rage. It's over, Valen. My father is currently unlocking the armory. You threw away our pack's purity for a stray, and now you will bleed for it. Kill them both. The guards squeezed their triggers. In that fraction of a second, everything slowed down. I saw the muzzle flashes. I felt Valen move to push me behind him, completely willing to take the bullets for his fated mate. But my wolf refused to let him bleed. Something inside my chest tore completely open. The dormant, ancient power of the Crimson Fong line didn't just wake up, it erupted. A shockwave of pure, blazing gold and blood-red energy exploded from my body, shattering every glass window in the hall. The bullets frozen instantly in midair, dropping harmlessly to the marble floor. Vance, recoiling in absolute horror, dropping her weapon as she stares at the massive phantom wolf looming behind Ren. No. That's the Crimson Fong aura. It's impossible. They were all killed. Ren, voice layered with a deep, supernatural echo, his eyes burning like twin stars. You missed one, Vance. And today, the debt is getting paid. Valen, stepping up beside Ren, his own amber eyes flaring with devastating pride, raising his weapon. You heard him. Drop your weapons, or become the first casualties of the new era. The sheer force of the Crimson Fong bloodline didn't just stop their bullets, it broke their spirits. One by one, the rogue operatives dropped their weapons, realizing they weren't fighting a street stray, they were fighting a living legend. Vance fell to her knees, staring blankly at the floor as Valen's loyal enforcement squad swarmed the room, putting Commander Gerald and the remaining traitors in heavy silver-laced restraints. Valen, walking up to Gerald, his voice ice-cold and unyielding. Your treason ends today, Gerald. You and your faction will be stripped of your titles and exiled to the dead zones. The Eclipse Pack has no room for snakes. While they dragged the traitors away, the flashing red alarms finally faded out, replaced by the quiet, calm light of the moon filtering through the shattered windows. The adrenaline began to leave my system, and for the first time in my life, my inner wolf didn't feel angry. It felt entirely at peace. 2 weeks later, the mansion was completely rebuilt, but the hierarchy had changed forever. The news of the Crimson Fong survivor had sent shockwaves through the underworld. My old pack was safe, thriving under the new resources of the treaty, and the Eclipse Pack had a new foundation. Valen didn't build a cage for me. Instead, he remodeled the throne room. Valen, standing beside the 2 new thrones, looking down at Ren with a warm, genuine smile. I told you before, run. I didn't bring you here to be a prisoner. This syndicate needs more than just my iron fist. It needs your fire. Ren, chuckling, sliding his hands into the pockets of his leather jacket as he sits down on his own throne. Don't get used to me being compliant, Valen. I'm still going to argue with you on every single territory deal. Valen, sitting down beside him, locking his amber eyes onto Ren's. I wouldn't expect anything less from my equal. That night, standing high above the forested mountains under a sea of stars, I finally let the barriers drop. I didn't fight the bond when Valen stepped into my space. I didn't pull away when his large, warm hand cupped the back of my neck. As he leaned down and pressed his forehead against mine, the golden light of our fated connection flared one last time, sealing our souls together permanently. Valen, whispering against his skin, his voice thick with devotion, you are exactly where you belong. Run. Bound to me, forever. Run, closing his eyes, a soft smile finally breaking across his face as he grips Valen's jacket. Yeah, I guess I am. Try not to make me regret it, Alpha. I used to think that freedom meant running away, hiding in the shadows of the slums, and fighting the world alone. But looking into Valen's eyes, feeling the fierce, protective warmth of his soul anchoring mine, I finally understood the truth. I wasn't trapped in the Alpha's cage. I had finally found my home.